Hello, this is a single malt review. And not too many years ago, the Elements of Islay range started appearing on the shelves in our local whisky store, a novel sort of periodic table themed series of independently bottled Islay whiskies. I looked at them in passing but never gave them much notice, but now Tim's picked one up.
Yes, this one is a little bit different. The Elements of Islay are you'd have to say, a pretty exclusive lineup of usually single casks from Islay distilleries, and there's some really, really exclusive ones in there. They've got single casks, sherry matured, Ardbeg, and other such, bottles of unobtainable stuff, but they've found it somehow. This one is very different. One, in that it was very, very affordable, so we'll tick that box. And secondly, it's a vatted malt, which you see very, very seldom these days. And it's not going to tell us what's in it, but it is
called Peat.
It is a cask strength vatted malt. So, and I'll tell you right now, it's damn good. So buckle in for this one, because it is a real ensemble of all things Islay, which I suspect is probably the point.
So a cask strength blend of as yet unknown Islay whiskies. By cask strength, that's 59.3, so pretty darn high.
Yeah, pretty darn high,
reasonably
and
young.
pretty vibrantly young, you'd have to say, which is, I think, probably the only way you can economically sell Islay whiskey for the price that this one is, which is pretty low considering what's in there. You can see my notes. We're going to hide these. There we go. So yeah, very, very light, obviously uncoloured, filtered.
Very pale, actually, like a younger bourbon matured whiskey.
Actually kind of looks like that really young Lashig we had recently. Very, very pale, but as we'll find out, not in any way lacking in flavour. It sort of gives... It's very, very hard to manage on the palate at full strength, but I think it noses beautifully at full strength. Yeah.
I got a bit of a whiff just simply when you uncork the bottle, so...
It's not... It won't blow you up in terms of alcohol on the nose. No. On the nose,
it's got lots of. It's evoking like heavy, greasy hemp rope, that dusty or jute and oily twine. A lot of those quintessentially maritime Islay characters.
What I get first and foremost, and this is a mega hint, I think, to what's in here, is really, really light lemon citrus. Sort of lemon juice and a lot of lemon rind. It's very, very, very zesty and lemony, which makes me think Colila, because that's Colila's bag there, the whole lemon zestiness with a lot of peat.
I normally associate Colila with a more kind of an oily, briny peat. I'm still getting lots of Colila here and bits of Kilhoman. But it looks like we both have different takes on Colila's.
It's a lighter style of Islay, I think. It's quite fruity. It's very, very, very fresh. It's lots and lots of citrus, and the smoky qualities to it are a lot lighter than they are heavy. It's very medicinal. It's very, sort of, aptly enough for the design of its bottle. It's a very sort of chemical aroma.
It's leaning towards the iodine, old kelp, and sea salt, rather than the kind of...
Rather than the really outwardly smoky bacon type things, rather than the meaty, tarry ones like that, which is a slightly different side of the whole Islay flavour.
Fishier rather than greasier.
So have a wee sip, full strength. I'll admit, I, as a genius that I am, just went and burned my tongue on hot tea, so I may not be on all cylinders here, but...
It is sharp and punchy, like I've had a few cask strength very young Kilhomans in my time, and this is evoking that quite nicely. It's almost fizzy in how prickly and vibrant and, even salty it is.
It really, really brings it. I think it's kind of implied that you've got to put water in this, and I sure as hell am.
I'm going to dare a second sip of this at full strength just to get even more out of it. My throat is feeling the burn, but...
It will certainly cure you of conceivably any throat infection in the world. The subtext, not medical advice. But it certainly tastes like something that's good for what ails you.
Yeah, it's got a hint of something that's been wood smoked or charcoal smoked. It's a little too hot to really savour the long-lasting nuances or the finish or anything. But adding a little water, let's see what we get.
Ah, there we go. Now, that water just dies it down enough that you can actually kind of approach it and see what's going on. And what's going on is a great deal. This is a real cracker of a whiskey.
Now a hint of fresh squeezed lemon juice on the nose. And on the tongue.
There's juicy citrus. It's sweet and fruity and fresh and youthful in a way that really only young Islay whiskey can be youthful. Youthful without any element of immaturity. Like, I suspect this is probably, funny enough, it's probably like that Lashig, very close to 7-year-old whiskey.
Yeah. It's got the same kind of
in there.
still lemonade character to it.
And if this was a Speyside whiskey or a Highland whiskey, that would be a pretty tenuous prospect, you know. If that was come out of bourbon casks like this one quite probably has. There's not much colour to this one at all. Well used bourbon casks of that, I suspect. If this was a mainland whiskey, this would just absolutely reek of immature spirit. It would just be not ready unless it was quite a remarkable thing. Islay whiskey has this magnificent way of being able to cheat that whole system. It's got so much flavour intrinsic to the spirit that it can just, you can bottle it at this age and it can absolutely get away with it. Not just get away with it, it can be a phenomenal thing, which this is. This is one of the better Islay whiskies I think I've had in probably ages in terms of the heavily peated spectrum. I've had Islay whiskies that have been tantamount to unpeated, like we had a single cask Cadenhead's Bunnahabhain a while back, and I really enjoyed that one, but that wasn't really it wasn't doing the peaty thing at all. This one is going all in. This is
doing the peat fandango all over my tongue. Almost to a disturbing degree. It's almost overpowering everything else that's going on there.
Yeah. So to try and quantify what's in this beyond this heavy citrus and charry smoke, it's quite ropey. It's very medicinal. There's a lot of sort of old-fashioned sticky plaster, and what whiskey tasters far older than us would call hospital corridor. That's when hospitals used to use a different form of disinfectant, one that was cracked out of, fractionally distilled out of sort of fuel production, I think, a byproduct of that. Some bituminous chemical, which had a very distinct smell, which is gone from the world today. So people, if you're not, I think you'd have to be at least 40 years old to remember that. Most places in the world anyway. You certainly probably would here in New Zealand. So we have no attachment to that smell, but I know that's the medicinal that we're talking about here.
When I first poured this, I got lashings of jute and burlap, all those kind of ropey, sacky aromas. That's died away a bit though.
It's very there's sort of the fibrous quality that
it's not as prevalent on the tongue, and especially not after adding some water and cutting it down to a more sensible, less dangerous to your health and safety alcohol strength.
Certainly, I think the more water you add, the sweeter this whiskey gets. Yeah. It becomes just remarkably cloudy as well.
It's
That's basically
almost completely opaque. It's basically very nearly white.
So there's a lot going on in this whiskey. Young though it may be, it's taken up quite a lot from its wood.
Well, I'm actually impressed by that. I'm probably going to have a look at the Elements of Islay range now. Maybe see if I can pick out one of their single cask. Single.
I've heard really good things about them. They are just sadly pitched at people with just a little bit more money than we have. They are quite expensive, especially when you consider that they all come in these 500ml bottles. It's certainly, they have whiskey there that probably, well, practically no other company has access to, considering that they bring out sort of Ardbeg after Ardbeg single cask. That's just unheard of. Getting hold of whiskey like that, totally unheard of. I mean, I think Douglas Lang's Old Malt cask, they found an Ardbeg cask, and that there was one in their sort of 20th anniversary range of super exclusive bottles. That's how rare it is normally considered, but no, they bring one out again and again and again. They sell one batch and they bring out another one, and it's a different Ardbeg cask. So hell, the company that owns this is the Specialty Drinks Company, who owns a surprisingly diverse selection of things that normally we look up these sort of parent companies and it's like, well, this must be only sold in Portugal or something, some weird foreign vodka or stuff. It seems Specialty Drinks owns, it's like a list of what's hot, really. They own Dom Perignon, they own the Diplomatico, there are a few cognac brands, really a list of kind of just only the most desirable spirit brands, really. So they've done very well collecting that. I hear that Mr. Sukunda Singh, one of the two brothers that owns the company, I think the active whiskey man there, has one of the more, possibly the most enviable whiskey collection in the world, in a sort of a secret bunker in London company where their headquarters is. But I've never seen it myself. I have heard stories though, so who knows? Who knows if someone's ever been? They could fill us in. But they're the people behind this one, and a very good thing it is too. And I should say, though the normal Elements of Islay are very, very costly, very, very exclusive, this one is not. This one conspicuously cheap. This is one for everybody, and it's something I'd recommend for any fan of Islay out there. I think this one is. I think it's pretty unmissable, really. And there will be different batches as they come out, but at least as far as I can speak to this one is one to get.
I'd personally be really interested to know what's gone into this. So what age, from what distilleries, in what quantities. If that information's out there, I'd be very fascinated to read it.
I'll bet it's out there in terms of one part speculation, one part heard it from a guy, and you'll get closer and closer to the source. I'd put a good, $2.50 down on there being a significant amount of colina in here. If it has and that being the heart malt, so to speak, because it's really speaking to me of younger colina. But who knows,
it's
really.
It's not giving me a lot of, say, Ardbeg, for instance.
It's not giving me a lot of Ardbeg, it's not giving me a lot of Lafroig.
Yeah.
It's not that side of the flavour, it's the lighter, fruitier style. But anyway, before we continue on this rambling, we should get the scores. And mine's going to be a pretty high score. It's a 93 for this one. This is a stunner of an Islay whiskey. What do you think?
I'll rate it slightly lower. This one earns an 87 from me. It's very, very good. It's got that youthful vibrance. It's a little too heavy on the smoky, salty, overpowering peat. But at the same time, not in a bad way. It means it's not as raw as another similar youthful spirit might be. It's not the best young Islay we've had, but it's still a very good one and an exceptional blend as well.
Recommended for any lovers of Islay, or any lovers of whiskey that just whiskey with more. This really is a whiskey with more. So there you go. Slanger, we'll be right back.